guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
If he isn't in power, he's an automatic death sentence. You know, a lot of people don't know shit about his wife. I do. You know.
Okay, I'm going to push this live. We'll do like a quick intro real fast.
He just pissed off.
Well, yeah. The funny thing about the oligarchs are heavily tied into the mafia. Yeah. Yeah. I know that firsthand because they tried to get me in at one point, and I was just like, I don't know about that, because they wanted me to move around fucking cars. And like, what do you mean move around? I'm like, I don't want to get into all this shit. They're gonna pay me a lot too.
Okay, we're live right now. Welcome back, everyone. Anonymous Bites back. It's kind of weird timing, but like I think we went live like in the middle of like a full-scale war in Ukraine, so we're going to have to give you guys some updates on that. I'm sorry if I still sound like my nose is stuffed, that's true. I know AK is still coughing like crazy, but it's a little bit too important not to go live today. So we'll get some updates on the stuff. And Tyler is here too. We couldn't stream, but he's on air with us anyway.
Yeah.
The last past, it's been almost 24 hours now. Almost 24 hours I've been up, 3 a.m., covering all this Ukraine stuff going on. I first woke up to probably 24 hours, maybe 100 calls just spamming me. All types of different people, from people in the blockchain industry that work in Ukraine to people that I know in Ukraine, to military sources and both U.S. military sources and Ukrainian military sources on the ground, actually that I've met just recently because of a friend introduced me to them and said, things are heating up in Russia. I want to introduce you to, or I mean, in Ukraine, the Ukrainian-Russian situation. I want to introduce you to military sources in Ukraine. So I've been basically relaying information all day for almost 24 hours now. I took a few hours to take a nap. But for the most part, I've been just awake, and it's been a crazy situation, man. Absolutely nuts. To see Russia take over the eastern part of Ukraine, the southern part of Ukraine, and the northern part of Ukraine, and push towards the west, all in one day, is pretty fucking incredible. I won't lie. Like, that's I did not think they were going to move that fast.
Okay, well, you have to
I
start
did.
with the Donetsk and Luhansk area, right? Because those were already so-called, like, they declared independence like a long time ago
Right.
already. Like, it was just never like accepted by the Ukrainian government, and not by Russia either actually. But they just like recently declared that they will accept their independence thing.
Yeah. No, that's true, and that's the thing to point out too. Is that what you have to understand is Belarus helped Russia invade Ukraine. They're right above the Ukraine, number one, and then number two, Russia surrounds the Ukraine, and then on top of that, they already had Crimea, and then they had I can't remember the L country. I always butcher it.
Lithuania.
Yeah, no, no, not Lithuania. They didn't have Lithuania. It's Lubask. Is that what it is? Starts with an L. Anyway, and then Donbask. They had
Oh,
basically.
Latvia, right? Latvia.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so they had both of those regions, and they had Crimea already under their control. So really, when they invaded from the east, and when they invaded from the north and pushed south, um, while pushing west, they didn't have really much to cover, to be honest. And they were able to easily siege and take over cities in Ukraine by hitting military targets. I think I read they hit over 70 plus targets, and I was told earlier that basically they had destroyed or hit majority of military bases in Ukraine. Not a lot of people were reporting this, but intelligence offices were bombed. Main offices of Ukrainian military were bombed. Command post, all of that bombed. Um, and Russia really did a massive operation here. I mean, they knew what they were doing. Like, put it that way. They used paratroopers. They used tanks, armored vehicles, troops on the ground, and troops in the sea, navy. So I mean, they hit from air, land, and sea, and it was a very sophisticated operation.
Yeah, the country. I've already this gut feeling it's already gonna be over by the end of the week. Like the whole country, really.
Well, there's a situation that's going on now, actually, where Kiev is being bombed and attacked as we speak. I was actually told before we went live a few hours ago that Kiev is going to be targeted and that there's going to be a wave two of attacks, according to sources. They said essentially that um, there is going to be a special operation that is launched to take over Kiev and to um, overthrow the leadership, and potentially there's been some military sources of mine saying that they were going to kill the leaders and dispose of the leaders and then replace the government there. Which, if they do that, that's going to be a whole nother like situation. I mean, we're already at war technically, but if they cross that line, like that might have NATO actually decide to respond.
Oh, great! We can. You want to get some hot dogs for the apocalypse? Come on, man. We'll get some s'mores. That's just a recipe. That's just a recipe for disaster. If NATO fucking strikes back at this point. I don't know.
Well, the U.S. has said that they're not going to strike back or not going to get involved, but then you have the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi trying to pass I think I saw it was like either 60 million or 600 million. I think it's 600 million to be honest, but the $600 million bill where it would fund weapons into Ukraine, and I'm like, well, that's not really that great of an idea, though.
We did that with the Kurdish because the Kurdish will fight any war. But that doesn't work. That only works with rebels, dude. Like, not gonna work. It's not gonna work, dude. Their army outnumbers their army, and they have different, like, technically outdo them like 100-fold. It's a slaughterhouse, and nothing you can do really at this point. You can drop all the fucking weapons, and there's nobody to pick them up. So I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Russia, when they attacked Ukraine, they destroyed a lot of ammunition depots. So because of that, there's a lot of lack of weapons. I mean, I don't know exactly what giving somebody weapons is going to do if you don't have the military to fight it. And you don't have the military positioning
Exactly.
to fight it. I mean, you've already lost major bases. You've lost
Air capability, everything.
well, no, Ukraine never really had air capability too much, and that's
A little bit. They had, I think they had some like F-16s and shit, but other than that, I don't think they had anything else. So,
yeah, they had very little air capability, and that's a major issue too. Is that they didn't have the ability to defend against the air attack that came in from Russia, and I'm not saying that just the air strikes too, but also the helicopters and the jets and everything. They didn't have enough adequate equipment to defend against such an attack like that. So yeah.
also, the banks and the ATMs are out of money. There's nothing,
Yes.
and all the banks' accounts are all frozen. I know about that.
Yeah.
So,
I reported that very
there's no-
early.
Yeah, there's no cash there's no cash. All the cash was gone earlier this week. So, but whatever, the capabilities. What?
I was just gonna say. Well, I was just gonna say. From what I heard, they aren't allowed to withdraw the U.S. dollar. They're not allowed to withdraw the euro, but they are allowed to withdraw their own currency, which is the starts with an H. I just don't know how to say it.
Probably going to be worth nothing by the end of the week if there's no country.
Yep.
Greetings.
It's just basically paper. Hey, you're back.
Sandy bro is up with us. Good.
I'm back.
So
Yeah, we did a little late start here.
So I've been very careful. I've been very careful in picking any side, right? Like, because I don't want to pick a side on this Russia-USA conflict, because I consider both sides of this conflict very wrong. and very imperialistic in their approach.
To me, it's very simple.
Yeah, the thing is, like, what I've been saying to Anons too, like, there is
US
people.
funded neo-Nazis in Ukraine in 2014
Yeah,
using the National Endowment for Democracy to fund neo-Nazis, who then murdered pro-democracy demonstrators in a building in Kiev, um, the Maidan protesters. And the person that was shooting at both the police and the protesters were the same rifle, the same gun, the same type of bullets. So all of this was, staged and planned and orchestrated by the US. And basically, this is what happens when you have, between 2014 and 2022, a bunch of neo-Nazis being funded and supported with heavy military hardware by the US on Russia's border, and them oppressing the people who want to rejoin Russia and aren't neo-Nazis, which is 70% of the population who don't want to join the Nazi regime. They've been harassing, beating and oppressing those people for the last several years, and those people have decided that they want to leave and rejoin Russia. Because back in the old Russia, none of this would have ever been allowed to happen. These people would have been arrested, they would have been thrown into jail, they would have been beaten, and so on and so forth.
yeah, you're talking about these Azov battalions, right? Those are like the Nazi
Yes.
battalions.
Yes.
Yeah, which is true. I mean, that's been published, and the U.S. even has said, like, yeah, we're no longer funding it and everything.
But that's bullshit. They are funding it.
yeah, that is, of course. Um,
So what you have
they
is
have been confirming they have been funding it in the past.
it's the equivalent. It's the equivalent of China moving into Mexico, funding a whole bunch of Mexican neo-Nazis on the Mexican-US border, and then US rolls in to deal with it and to save the Mexicans that want to join the US for some unknown reason. And that's the kind of scenario that you've got. You've got the US has been funding neo-Nazis, knowing that they would cause a problem for Russia, which is why they funded them into power, also making a profit from all the oil and gas that was being sold into Europe currently. From Russia goes through Ukraine. So this is just rotten any way you look at it, and the person that's been doing the rotting is the US hand behind the curtain. No one wants to talk about who these people are in the Azov battalion or who funded them, because everybody's avoiding the neo-Nazi angle on this, and when it does come up, it's twisted around into some QAnon conspiracy theory, and quickly disregarded because they don't want the truth getting out of what is actually happening there and who the Russians are actually fighting, because the Russians are actually only fighting the military targets. They haven't bombed one civilian target yet.
That's not true.
Where are you getting this information from? If you could link me the information, that would be awesome.
They've bombed multiple cities. They bombed over 25 cities.
They've bombed targets in those cities, yes. Multiple targets within cities, and they've all been military targets within those cities.
Well, I just know from experience from watching, previous wars, it doesn't matter where you hit a military target, there's always some civilian casualties.
Of course
It
there
doesn't
is.
matter. Yeah.
Of course there is, but that's war.
Yeah, but the
What
thing
you're not
is,
doing is striking civilian targets directly, and only them with no military target nearby, which is what the US has been well known to do, like targeting hospitals, and then going, oh, but it was an Al Qaeda hotspot.
Okay, we
Yeah,
have 57. I think the latest number I read was 57 confirmed civilian deaths, which is very low for a full-scale invasion, definitely. But
Especially the way that they're framing it is, this is a massive invasion, this is huge, people are dying everywhere.
yeah, but I would be careful in picking a side. And the thing we actually have to focus on is the fact that there are innocent civilians there who didn't ask for this, and
I've picked a side, and giving all of the details, all of the information, not cherry picked. That's my side, is I give the people all of the information and let them make up their own mind, not give them half of the picture, tell them that this is Russia invading, what do you think? No, it's not as simple as this is Russia invading. Give them the history. Tell them what's really been going on. Otherwise, you're just bullshitting to the people, the same as mainstream media. No different, all the same. Unless you're going to tell them what's truly going on, don't bother telling them anything.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, so that you can start with looking at history, right? And maybe go back to the agreements the NATO made with Gorbachev, because the thing was Gorbachev would step down, and there was a promise made by NATO that they would not increase the number of NATO countries anywhere, any closer to Russia, right? And back then it ended around the border was West Germany. Poland and etc. wasn't even in it yet. I'm correct. NATO has been increasing the NATO member countries ever since then, and now reaches Ukraine, which is the Russian border. Gorbachev once stepped down. It was the end of the Soviet Empire, right? With knowing that was the agreement, and now Putin is stating like, yeah, you just entered my garden now with your NATO armies, and we feel
Which never should have happened.
No, it wasn't that agreement. I mean, that is fair to say.
People can't remember back to 2014. How do you expect them to remember back to Gorbachev? Most of the people protesting now weren't even alive then.
I was.
It was 1991, if I'm correct.
Well, I mean, even so, it's not black and white in Ukraine, but it's a matter of what Russia did and has done today. I mean, it's a bloodbath.
You want to talk about what somebody did and what somebody has done? Let's look at what America did and what America has done. Russia wouldn't have a problem on its doorstep if it wasn't for what America did. America created this problem in the first place. How can you ignore that? That's like me walking over, punching somebody in the face, and then going, oh, let's make fun of that guy, he's bleeding. Don't worry about how he's bleeding or what happened. Let's just make fun of him and blame him for bleeding, because he shouldn't be a bleeder.
I can't argue with that one.
When you put something into action, right, and create a problem, and then walk away and pretend that you had nothing to do with it and have the whole media cover your entire role in it, and then ask people to create a judgment together, and you're going to try and tell me that that's not being deceptive? Seriously, come on. You're smarter than that. You can see through, you can read between the lines of what's happening here. How can you still be on board with it?
I'm not on board with any war, really. I think it's all. I think war is ridiculous.
You can't pick sides. Yeah, no, I agree. But when you see a clear right and wrong,
oh no, I don't see it like that. I think all war in general is at this point. I don't know how many times I've been war causes more problems than it solves, really.
It depends who you are. What part of the stock market you're into. You know this. You know
yeah.
it, right? War's a big deal depending on where you are on the stock market, what kind of an investor you are. I mean, quite frankly, right now, I could be making billions. I just don't have millions to turn over and to launder quite at the moment yet. But I know what stocks to watch, especially when the word war pops up.
Okay, especially among anons, I already saw like different groups being created. Like there is a whole Operation Russia. There is like mostly American anons, I guess.
And it's a psyop.
I was going to get there.
They're being used. Anonymous is being used as a tool by the Empire currently, right now, because they're being kept in the dark about the truth. And it's despicable. It's disgusting to watch. Like, they should be fucking ashamed of themselves that they're so easily played by the narrative.
Still, it's their choice, and if they believe this, we shouldn't.
No,
Like,
it is their
it is,
choice. It is their choice. Everybody has to be responsible for their own actions and their own choices.
yeah.
You know,
So I
like-
already also know
I mean,
that there are.
regardless of what the U.S. did in 2014, that was 2014. This is now 2022.
Yeah, but this is reverberations from back then. If they didn't put a neo-Nazi group into power in Ukraine, we wouldn't be having this fucking discussion now. That's my whole point. They knew this was coming. This was the whole point. This is not an accident. You don't accidentally fund neo-Nazis into power next to your enemy's border.
No, but that
You'd
is
be, you'd be
something.
You do it
surprised.
on purpose.
That is something that,
Because
that
you know
Russia
those
also
people are-
does. Though that is something that Russia also does. Not specifically.
Where
Nazis.
has Russia...
Well, okay,
done
let me
that?
get there. No, let me get there. This is for the USA too. This has to do with the USA. Because it is proven that, for example, you had the Texas independence movement. They were extra amplified by the Russian state media, RT, for example. They were giving a lot of extra attention to the Texas independence movement. And it's kind of like the same as like... well, not the same because they're not neo-Nazis like in the Ukraine.
Well, the
but-
Western media is giving the lie a lot of traction at the moment on their mainstream TV, but that's not labelled on every post as state-affiliated media. Like, there's double
True.
standard across the board on this. Like, can you not see it? Those that have the most to lose, those that have the most to lose by the truth getting out, will fight the hardest to get their
Oh.
news out.
Well, that's the thing is most wars are fought over, lies.
The real war is in your mind. And we're being played on a massive scale at the moment. And we should be part of the solution, not part of the problem. That's all I'm saying. And I'm just going to sit back and watch and see how this plays, and it'll tell me where Anonymous is at currently.
Okay, Fannyman, I have another question for you. This might go into that too a bit, but so there is okay. So Anonymous, yeah, there is the American side of Anonymous. They are already doing ops against the Russian websites. I've seen that there are already crews being formed on the other side, targeting Americans. There are two sides already. The
Yeah.
other side, who is like pro-Russia, are a little bit more secretive about it and a little bit more concerned with OPSEC.
You know
right?
why? Because if it comes out, it's going to be said that Russia put them up to it. That it's not some sort of
Yeah.
independent group, that they've been put up to it to do this. Because
Yeah.
it'll be played on another angle.
Yeah, so but then there is this actually came from an RT journalist, Kit Clarenberg. He did suggest, could this be that the US and Russia are actually doing this together? Now there is something to
rid
say
of.
for that too. That they're
Yeah.
playing this out
Rid of.
together because of we all now are standing up against our governments because of all this restriction stuff going on. Finally, governments like the Trudeau government are dealing with serious problems. Now they are,
Hypothetically, humour me here, hypothetically what they've done is they've now grouped up all of the neo-Nazis in one area in Russia, collected them all in one area, and now they could deal with the problem in one swift go if they wanted to, hypothetically, if this is a psyop.
if I'm correct, those battalions are already destroyed, by the way, just saying. They're already taken out. They were the first targets. But no, but that was the suggestion by a journalist, and that they were saying like maybe the US and Russia are doing this together, that they are putting the attention on another enemy, like maybe this benefits the US and the West. It also benefits Russia in their own way, doing the same thing, creating an outside enemy, put all the angry people who are angry at their governments focusing on an outside enemy. The governments can get away with all the stuff they did with the whole lockdown situation and removing human rights, and that they are playing this out together. There was a suggestion by one journalist. He did get a lot of backup from it. Also, a lot of people would say like this is complete bullshit. But yeah, I was going to ask you what you think of that stuff.
plausible. It is plausible that they are grouping a problematic group together and culling them out, while at the same time laying down the groundwork, as in the media work, to be able to justify it, while at the same time using it as a distraction from problems at home as they're winding back from restrictions and mandates and things like that in different areas under the cover of this war.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it does make a great distraction from this abuse of coercion as opposed to consent. That's going to be an issue that's still not yet finished. I think they're hoping that it'll just go away.
Yeah, well, look at how the media is pushing on this. Like, all the media is on this. Why aren't they on Palestine? Why aren't they on Yemen? Right? Why weren't they on Syria like this?
Because
Yeah.
the media is currently focusing on this as a distraction, as you said, and right now the narrative is Russia bad, America good. Russia bad, America good.
America isn't good.
That's not. You're not watching TV, or you're not watching it the right way. Okay.
I really don't watch TV, really.
It's pretty much what Ferryman says. It's just there's the Russian man bad, right? And it's just the same as with the Orange man bad. It's the Russian man bad now, and it's the same stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Russia is probably doing the same stuff. I don't really understand Russian, so probably they're doing the same. with me.
I can tell you the one thing this pretend war is affecting, and that's the stock market straight up. Look at the fuel prices. They've jacked them up while creaming off the top of for the profits.
Yeah. I honestly don't know where it'll end, and
The people in our chat seem to be very awake to it. John Tech says Klaus Schwab is the common denominator. Anthony says, aren't they all WEF Klaus puppets anyway? It's like, they do see this, it seems. So yeah, I think we got something there. It's like, to me, it also looks like they're putting the attention on an outside enemy that they can make go on forever, because they did this with the Cold War. And the interesting thing to me is that it was 3 days ago. That was the 22nd of February, and that was when Bloomberg reported that Russia was now the second largest oil supplier to the USA. It surpassed all the others, and is now the second largest. And now we see that the oil price is going up wild. There is this new scenario where we might have entered a war that they can make last forever. If the Americans or whatever go in now, that they can make this war go on forever. If they don't touch it, Russia will finish it real fast. But so that's the thing. And now the oil prices will go up. They were going up before this conflict happened.
Yeah, due to COVID.
Yeah.
They were saying as a blame for it, but it's not actually COVID either, because when you
inflation.
analyze that, well, no, when you analyze what's happening with COVID, right? Before COVID hit, they were having backed up ships at the ports to begin with, before COVID ever even hit, right? Because what's been happening is for the last 15 years, shipping containers and ships that carry those containers have gotten bigger, right? But the port facilities haven't changed. So they're still old port facilities that aren't equipped to deal with the massive, massive increase in the amount of stocks and clearing that it has to do to be able to keep up. Now, to exacerbate this problem, COVID hits. Then all of a sudden you got people calling in sick. You've got restrictions put in on ships that can come in. They got told to quarantine off of the coast. So you've got that now slowing down the imports and exports. Then with people being sick, such as delivery drivers, from COVID, right, you've got that slowing down the system. You got the fact that it's an old port slowing down the system, that it needs upgrade in the infrastructure, because there's massive infrastructure flaws throughout the US, not just the ports, but the bridges, the transport system altogether. Then you go and sack half of your workforce on the docks, right, to make this problem even worse. Then you jack the prices up and blame it all on COVID, without having to explain a goddamn thing to anybody.
I've known about the port problems for years. I have friends at the port, so that wasn't any news to me. So,
To
I know
you,
that.
perhaps.
Yeah.
But to the average guy down at the service station
port,
who
so
pumps you
that
gas, or to the person that's at the checkout store, right? They probably have no fucking clue about that. And they're buying in. Okay, nah, COVID's the answer. It's all COVID. COVID's the reason why I have to pay more for everything.
Yeah, it's true.
You're told what they want you to know to answer the questions as much as they have to without actually telling you everything. So they're free to do whatever they need to do.
True.
And the media is fully complicit to this, and has been since 2011 when Obama signed the bill to the Smith Act, reversed the ability to, where the US is now free to use propaganda on the general population, on its own population, as well as allies and allied populations as well. Propaganda which is normally targeted at foreign governments.
Yeah, that is true. They changed that. They're now allowed to do that against all of us.
Yeah.
It's not like that changes much though. They were already doing that, but it's not all in secret.
Yeah, but now they've pulled all stops. You should see the propaganda that we're getting here now in Australia, where previously it was never like this, not on this level.
Like what? I don't know, because like I can't even access any Australian news without using a fucking VPN to access anything from
Okay.
Australia.
How about if I told you that we get more American news, like USA Today, NBC Today, PBS NewsHour, we get all of that on our mainstream TV. So we don't even have to go looking for it, it's given straight to us. And I guarantee you, what you see on PBS NewsHour or NBC Today or the Today Show, the US Today Show, whatever you see on there in the news, our TV or our main news TV will parrot it word for word. Word for word. They don't even be changing words here and there.
Yeah, it's very common actually. It's just lazy reporting. They just copy other people's shit. It's very common.
But what it is, right, is this is how they disseminate the lie.
Oh yeah, half of reporters don't do anything.
It's become so common to just copy somebody else's transcripts, do no research to back it up, assume that it's already researched, and then just read it out, because it saves a lot of time with you having to write your own report, do your own research, and get your own story together.
It actually happens quite often, to be honest.
No, I know. But now, so more often than not, that data, right, that's being transcribed or basically just read by another person is false, misleading and false on purpose to paint a different narrative.
What I don't understand is why do Australian news sources geo-lock anything outside of Australia? Like, I don't understand. Like, why? Like,
what do you mean?
What?
They don't.
Like,
that's being done at your end.
Is it?
Yeah. Yes. That's been done at your end, at your service providers. Not at our end. We don't block anything.
I don't know. I haven't actually done a tracer to actually figure it out. Whenever I try.
Do it, and then tell me what.
Yeah,
you
I will.
Because it's worth doing just to see.
I never.
Trust me, I know the answer to this, but I'll let you find it yourself.
Yeah, I never actually dug and actually gone to a terminal and analyzed what's actually going on. I just kind of was like, oh, let me just flip on a VPN and okay, now I can access it. So I didn't really think about delving in. It really didn't.
Okay, I do know that Americans already are geo-blocking a lot, ever since it became like really worse since the GDPR thing in Europe, right? Like that they GDPR is that you have as Europeans control over your own data and whatever you can demand to take it off, and there's all that kind of like new rules. So American many websites didn't want to comply to it, so they geo-block the entire European Union. So I think that's also the moment they start geo-blocking other regions. Because yeah, this is just that you start adding other stuff to it. Yeah. So I think that's about it when it got a lot worse. But I'm pretty sure it was a bit like that before that too. So, in the chat, someone asked, maybe one of you guys know. Jay asked, can sanctions work against Russia if they continue to do business with China? Already the answer is already in the question, I think, Jay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the business is moving to China, to Asia right now. The economic power is moving to Asia. Well, this is already happening for a while. And, they're building their own railroad lines from China through Russia into Europe.
The new Silk Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been going on for quite some time.
Which is, when you look at it, right, as a tactical point, just for trade alone, is an inevitable thing that you would do anyway.
Yeah. They're already
It's
trying
one of
to
those
swoop.
things where it'd be silly not to have a main line through your entire continent, where it gives you the ability to move, transport, and exchange goods along that line, linking as many people as possible.
Oh yeah, they're already
There's
trying to
nothing
do
wrong
it
with
through
that.
Pakistan too. Yeah.
America, without its railroad, wouldn't be here. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there would have been no westward expanse. No, not really. It wouldn't have happened as fast as it would have.
I think my ivermectin just arrived.
Horse based. This plane.
No, dude, come on. Don't you think I've gotten the human version?
I know. I'm just joking. Dude.
So that way I don't have to guess at the what do you call it? The dosage. They're all 6 milligram ivermectin tablets.
Why are you using it? Do you have the actual the COVID stuff or?
Yeah. This is to treat people that have been immunized, because this is one of the things that doesn't react with them.
Okay.
So yeah, it was. If they were allowed to show the effectiveness of ivermectin when going for emergency use authorization never would have been granted when compared to ivermectin's effectiveness of 75% effectiveness both before, during COVID, where the vaccine has no effectiveness that it can actually lean on to the same degree, because there's effectiveness and then there's relative effectiveness, and they're two different things.
You have some feedback going on, I think, Tyler. It's coming from you.
Oh, me?
Some wind going.
Sorry, it's my AC. Sorry.
You're at work or something, right?
Yeah, I'm at work. Fuck that other job. The other job went to shit. So.
And we have AK still in. Regardless of what you think of it, there's a lot has happened in Ukraine over the last 24 hours. I mean, I
don't know. It won't be called. I don't even know if there will be a Ukraine by the end of the week. It'll be Russia again, probably. So.
Yeah.
Well, they've already taken the eastern part and south.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
And north, so they only have the west to remain. That's where they're heading now.
Yeah, next week it'll be the ruble. You know, that'll be the common money, if there is any economy at all. I doubt it. That's one thing that war fucks shit up horribly is the economy. It's not going to be any economy, but at all. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's been nuked.
yeah, well, my grandfather, my grandfather told me, after World War II when he was still in Hungary, he told me, he's like, I didn't even see a fucking orange for like 10 years, dude. You know, that's how fucks up everything. The farming industry, everything.
Yeah. I mean, what Putin did, though, I mean, he basically shot himself in the foot for his own economy. I mean, their stock market crashed like no other. It was like down like 45%, 46%, something like that.
Yeah, it's going to happen on both sides, of course. Yeah, that's inevitable. People, don't like that, like to liquidate their assets, especially at these kind of times. And I saw it in the crypto market too. I saw when it went below 35K. I'm like, yeah, that's Wall Street pulling out of crypto right there, and in Europe too, and whatever other country. Personally, I thought it was all mafia money, but that's just me speculating.
It wasn't Wall Street pulling out. Wall Street's smart. They're gonna stay in crypto. They know the crypto has a future. It's gonna go up and be worth
Eventually. Yeah.
Some of these networks.
Yeah, right now is the time to buy.
That was retail. That was retail panicking. That was retail panicking, and basically seeing what's going on and panic selling. Thinking that it's going to go down much lower, to go down to 28K, whatever. That was retail. That was retail that did that. And then it bounced back and went up to 39K, and it looked like we were about to break out. Which people need to understand. I mean, when there's war, certain markets, they go up in value.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, especially the energy sectors and metal raw materials. Yeah, always goes up. Yeah, lithium, gold, cobalt. Chemical supplies, stuff like that.
Platinum.
Yeah, exactly.
Copper. Don't forget copper. And,
copper. Yeah.
Iron.
Yeah.
Magnetite.
Yeah. Anything you use to build a weapon, pretty much goes up in price, up in value.
Magnetite at the moment is going up in price. It's that.
What do they use that for?
Making neodymium magnets.
Oh, yeah, but I know. Are you gonna build a nuke?
No, you build railguns.
Oh, okay. I was gonna wait. No, because the nuke is just compressing it's the self-imploding bomb on a. Well, it's more sophisticated than that, but basically, yeah, no, you wouldn't be using you'd be using explosives.
Explosives and nuclear material.
Yeah, it's actually kind of it's actually necessary. Yes, exactly. It has to implode on itself. Yeah.
I know. I don't share this kind of information because it's as what's it called?
I know that kind of information will get you in trouble. I know.
yeah, Tyler should
It's considered
know
as
that one.
antisocial.
Yeah.
Tyler should know all that one. I mean,
Yeah.
how to build something that he shouldn't have before or live on air.
Everyone makes mistakes, and they don't mean to give away that kind of information.
I don't know.
It's just you get
Sometimes I'm like a bird, dude. Like if you say it like this, and I'll be like, "Yeah, that's how you do." Oh wait, I shouldn't have said that. I do it all the time.
It comes from a good place. I mean, the best weapons, right, or the best things to be invented are always double-edged swords. Always.
Yeah, they usually are. Well,
And it's usually the wielder who dictates how it's used. That's where the danger comes, is because it's the heart and mind of the man who uses it to whether it'll do good or bad.
Yeah.
Well, I have a update here. Russian tanks are moving towards Kiev.
Yeah, it's in the area, right, that was considered as wanting to rejoin Russia. That's why. So that's perfectly normal and to be expected, because that whole area asked for protection from Russia, from the Azov battalion.
Yeah, but Kiev is the capital city of Ukraine. There's like, that's a huge city. That's just like the main, and that's where the government is seated too. But you're right though. So the Ukraine has been like one of the founding members of the Soviet Republic back then. So it's been a part of Russia for a very long time. Um, it's only after when Stalin died that Nikita Khrushchev became the leader there, and he allowed that country to like flourish a bit until so the Soviet Union stopped, and then when the Soviet Union stopped, they went into a huge like economic crisis, which is almost a decade, and then when they finally went back like in doing a little better in the Ukraine, the big crisis in 2008 happened, like the banking crisis, and they collapsed again. So it's been going on there like forever, and it's like it's not really recovered like it should have been. And there is like this huge pro-Russian crowd in it, and there's also a huge anti-Russian crowd. Because honestly, like a lot of shit happened there too under Russia. Just saying, like it was the subject of the a thing which is considered larger than the Holocaust. It's the Holodomor, right? It was like 8 million people died from hunger there. And most of those were Ukrainians. So they have like both hostility and against Russia, and there's also a huge pro-Russia part, because under as a part of the Soviet Union, which they were like one of the founding members of the Soviet Union. It's not like they were annexed by the Soviet Union; they were one of the founding members of it, right? And they worked together on building that union. They did have some revival, but that didn't happen under Stalin. That happened under Khrushchev, and Khrushchev only came to power after Stalin died. Stalin was not; it was more like making it one big central government, right? And Khrushchev is more was different than that. The saying, but it's like that's like that country is really divided. Sorry guys, I'm not getting a reply for you guys, but it's because Discord crashed again, so I'm just doing like history stuff on my own again.
In the middle of the street.
You have to repeat the
They were
last thing,
going
Fanny,
around.
man. I dropped out of Discord, so I was doing a history lesson on my own again. I was thinking like no one was replying, but my Discord crashed.
I knew you'd be back.
I thought for sure like you didn't pay like the power bill or somebody cut you off because you got in trouble. I was like,
No, I was okay. So
No.
I can do it quickly again. I was explaining about Khrushchev. Like I was saying, like Stalin, Ukraine is one of the founding members of the Soviet Union. Under Stalin, suffered under the Holodomor. Over 8 million people died with the hunger crisis. But when Stalin died under Khrushchev, Ukraine was really doing really well, right? And then in 1991, the Soviet Union dissolves, and they enter into like a decade-long economic crisis. Then they finally recover. This is talking about the market economy, right? Capitalist economy. Finally recover, and in 2008, a huge banker crash happens, and they collapse again, right? And they're a country that's been in trouble like since forever, economic trouble, and and there is a huge pro-Russian crowd and a huge pro-Western crowd there.
oh yeah, there's a kid. I mean, Ukraine is fucking bankrupt at this point, right? Am I right?
Yeah,
Ukraine, yes.
it's a fucked
Yes,
up
it is.
country, like in that sense, in the economic sense. These people are not doing all too well there.
No, they're upside down on everything.
And they've got a huge loan that they have to pay back now to the IMF.
Well,
for all the
actually,
guns
that's
and
that's
weapons
that's
and
the beautiful part about war, and I've said this time and time again. If you dissolve the country, there is no debt. That's always the cool loop around against owing other countries. If you dissolve the country, there is no debt.
that's where this Donbass and Luganska or whatever it's called, them declaring independence and then joining Russia legally gets them out of that. And that's why the
Yeah.
US is against it, because
Well,
they want to make sure that they still get to pay their debt off, basically, because that's lots of money that has just been stripped from the IMF. And those people are going to want their money back or
well,
something.
they'll do what they did in Greece to sell off the country. You know how much? I don't know how
They've
much
already
Greece.
done that.
Greece.
There's not much left to sell off, though.
Really?
Greece was forced into debt, and that's how we know Varoufakis, who was back then their finance minister, who was trying to fight back against that, but his prime minister pretty much sold him out. Not sure if we want to get into all of that, but Greece was doing pretty well economically. The people
It's
would
all
not.
connected. So you have to get into it. The same group, right, which is destroying it now, Ukraine, is the same group, same investment groups that were destroying Greece.
Okay, well, and who tried to destroy
Ukraine.
Iceland too.
Yeah, but in Ukraine, it had an active neo-Nazi movement that it could take advantage of, that were basically dying to get into power, and they were being held out to the point where they felt that they had to march into the Ukrainian parliament brandishing an AK-47 to remind them who has the real power.
Okay,
And
well,
literally, it's on tape.
okay, we can go into Greece real fast. Greece was a country where the people were not living in debt. They had no houses or mortgages, right? They owned their own houses. They did pretty well. It was a touristy area. The Europeans came in, right? The bankers, they see like this is good collateral. They offered all these people loans, huge loans. Suddenly, the people in Greece were driving 2 Ferraris each, buying all kinds of new houses. Then the big economic crisis 2008 happens, right? They don't have an industry like Germany and whatever. They didn't have. They were the first to enter into a crisis in Southern Europe, right? Spain, Portugal, Greece. They were the first to enter deeply into crisis. They couldn't repay it. So what do the Northern European countries do? They say like, well, we have plenty of money. We will just give you new loans with high interest, right? And the Greeks were pushed into these loans by the European powers, which are the bankers from Germany, from the Netherlands. These bankers offered these huge loans to them, forced them to take it because they have to repay the other loans from the past to the European Union, or they get fucked over. So they were forced into it. Varoufakis tried to resist it. Varoufakis was a friend of Julian Assange, who made EuroLeaks, published the secret conversations, where back then European finance minister was from Netherlands, Dijsselbloem, threatened and blackmailed them into listening to the Europeans. They are forever forced as a slave country into the European Union. Greece. Now, these bankers tried to do the same with Iceland, and then it was the UK and Netherlands offering these same loans to Iceland when they had that trouble, right? But the Icelanders didn't accept it. The Icelanders said, "Oh, we will leave the EU. We will just arrest all the bankers." So they did that, right? There was nothing much the EU could do because you can't invade a country over debt. Like there's no legal precedent for that. So that's actually what Greece should have done, I guess. They didn't, but Iceland did do it. They just threw the bankers in jail.
We lost 8K. I don't know what happened to him.
I don't know.
Go. We fall asleep.
Maybe he'll be back.
I don't even know what time
Hopefully.
zone he's in. No, I don't.
I mean, he got it now because he wants to give all these troop updates and stuff. He's been like covering
Uh,
all day, like all the movements of all the troops and stuff there.
The only thing that's not being covered is who the Russians are fighting, which is the Azov battalion. It's the largest battalion, and it's that group that has been ordered to defend Ukraine, and their connections to the far right movement, and the fact that they're self-proclaimed neo-Nazis. That's being withheld out of the media, and rightly so, because then if you were to follow back to how and who is funding them, it would go and show that the US is funding neo-Nazis. That's why it's being just pushed as Russia's invading Ukraine. That's all you see, right? The narrative is missing a key part of the information, and you guys, right, should be helping get the real information out to fill in these blanks for people. Wherever you see somebody asking for more information, give it to them. Don't leave them in the dark, because if you're not there to stop them being programmed the wrong way, right, you're just as guilty as those that are doing the programming to program and misinform these people. If you're not doing anything to stop it, and you're aware of it, and you have information that you can help them with, you know what I mean? Like, evil gets away with evil. Evil gets away with evil because good men do nothing.
Yeah, okay, so the Azov were officially a volunteer militia. They are Nazis, definitely. They became part of the National Guard of the Ukraine. They are a Nazi battalion, definitely. Their logo actually uses a wolf's angle, which is was also used by the 2nd SS Panzer Division, called Das Reich, right? It's literally an SS Panzer Division logo. Is what they use as their battalion logo. So it's not a big secret to them that they are promoting themselves as Nazis. It is weird that it's not mentioned in the media, though. It's so easy to see that, because they used actual Panzer Division logo, and they were openly Nazis. And yeah, you're right. There is connections with the United States. They have been funding that in the past. They admitted to it, and then officially said like they no longer fund it. That's what they claim.
I'm gonna link a few things. Verboda have actually changed their logo from the SS symbol to a hand holding 3 fingers up. Just going through old
honestly,
footage.
I didn't even know about the whole Nazi thing. I didn't even know that shit was going on over there.
You're not meant to. That's the whole point. Because if you do, right, and then you go looking to where and how they got there and who put them into power and who funded them, then you'd find the links to the US.
Yeah. So it is like when you read it about. They were in March 2015. There was announced that they would be among the first units to be trained by the United States Army troops in the operation called Operation Fearless Guardian. This is March 2015, and later on in June, the U.S. House of Representatives passed an amendment blocking aid due to its Nazi background.
What the fuck? Seriously, what the fuck?
Yeah, and then that amendment was removed in November 15 again. Right, so they blocked the aid to that regiment in June 2015, and then removed the blockade in November 2015. So we don't know what happens then, right?
Well,
And it does say like in 2017 they push out a media release that they met foreign delegations, foreign officers from the United States Armed Forces and Canadian Armed Forces. So it is that the U.S. Armed Forces and Canadian Armed Forces in 2017 are involved in that. whole Azov thing.
Yeah. I don't know why that shit's on. No, oh, I know why it's on. There's nobody who's cool about that shit.
So in the chat
Yeah.
says also they repealed the ban and they're still actively. I think I mentioned that. I tried to like read a bit about that, but yeah, that is kind of what they do though. Like you find in proxy groups like that, not to have like your direct, like if you as the USA want to destabilize a region, you're not going to like directly send your own troops. You're going to fund a proxy thing, and yeah, the neo Nazis, yeah.
That way
Probably,
it keeps your hands clean, and when the shit hits the fan, you can blame everything on them and help destroy them, so that way they don't show your connection to them. But this way, right, they're trying to hide the connection between the US and these neo-Nazis that they help fund into power in Ukraine. And that's why you're not seeing any mention of neo-Nazis in Ukraine, and all you're being pushed in your face currently is Russian invasion, Putin crazy, Russian invasion, Putin crazy, because they need that narrative to overshadow anything to do with neo-Nazis, because that would lead you to find out that they were funded into power by the US. Now, when you look at who does it benefit to have unrest on your enemy's border that you helped put into place, that is now costing them resources, while at the same time allowing you to take advantage of the stock market and the chaos that that war always produces statistically the same results. So you know what to move your investments in before declaring war over the news. You know when to pull your investments out before forgetting it in the news.
you know
So,
what's
like, I mean,
interesting too?
this is, and what Thor was saying before, right? This comes back to oil and gas. All the oil and gas going out of Russia into Europe, right, has to go through Ukraine. It has to.
Oh yeah,
There's no other
because
way.
they don't have there's because the only old port
Too
access
hot.
is the old Navy shipyard from the USSR or former Soviet USSR. That's why they took it back. It's the only way to get their fucking ships in and out. That's why they took that part back was Crimea, right? Or whatever the fuck it was called. I don't know. I don't know that.
The point is that it's the only route to get into Europe that's the cheapest. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
And
it's right there
at the
off the docks.
moment, while that is being monopolized and shut off, the European bloc has to get its oil and gas from the US because it's the only place that is offering it. And under a deal, the European Union is paying through the nose for so-called freedom molecules or freedom particles or whatever it is that they're calling it. And the US is selling its oil and gas to Europe for a massively increased price, which is driving up prices of energy in Europe throughout all of Europe. And the people are suffering, right? If the Nord Stream 2 pipeline goes ahead straight to Germany, that would solve all of that problem and remove the need for Europe to buy its oil and gas at a massively increased price from the US when they can get it from Russia for a hell of a lot cheaper. Right? And this would be good for Europe, this would be good for Russia, this would be good for the people of Europe, but it wouldn't be good for the US, and it wouldn't be good for Ukraine, because Ukraine in 2014 took out a massive IMF loan, as we know, after the coup. And they need the sale of that oil and gas through its country to be able to pay those loans back. It can't do it otherwise, and it sure as shit can't do it now that it's just lost its main capital, Kiev. I mean, those people don't want to be part of the neo-Nazi Ukraine that it's turned into.
Okay, Cup 2 says Russian military vehicles are now 20 miles away from Kiev. He just says it in the chat. Well,
You're getting videos of firefights in some areas, while in other areas you're getting videos of people waving to the convoys as they're passing through.
Well, people are just watching it like it's a fucking 4th of July. That's normal.
The
Though.
military has nothing against the people. The military are only looking for combatants. That's it.
yeah, okay. Well, let's hope that's true. But like, I
Why do you
decided not
think the
not to.
death
Not,
toll is so low?
I know that. Like, I decided not to pick a side on it because I am not a fan of both of these governments. Like,
I'm not
Russia,
asking you to pick a side, right? And if I am, I'm asking you to pick a side of truth and just make sure that everybody has the correct information. That's all I'm asking you to pick a side on.
no, I want to make
It's just
sure that I personally I'll pick the side of the population that will be suffering from a long-term war here. Like if this only
both
lasts a few
sides
days,
are going to suffer from it.
yeah, if this only
That's
lasts a few
exactly.
days, that is best case scenario. But there is hundreds of thousands of people now already fled their homes, and I
This is
think
true.
if Anons want to do something good instead of like supporting the U.S. or supporting Russia or whatever, maybe see if you can do something to do like a food relief or whatever. I've seen projects already being started for that.
At the moment, when I saw the evacuations, it was mostly the early hours of the morning. Buses were organized from the Ukrainian side wanting to defect, as well as over the border, the Russian side also assisted this evacuation. And the first thing that they evacuated was the women, children, elderly, and the sick out of that area that were willing to flee. Others decided to stay, and yeah, basically anyone that wanted to go was supplied and supported to go, where they're now over on the Russian side being looked after by the Russian government and, you know, the population there. So yeah, there was a massive exodus basically from the borderline areas mainly, because that's where they were expecting to get the most amount of resistance.
Okay.
They even broadcast this in Kiev to everybody on the main television channels, to basically let them know that there is a way out, way before any of this started.
Staffing in the chat asked, "How can we help? What can be done to stop this?"
Get the truth out. If you want to help, just make sure everybody's informed with the truth of what is actually going on there and who is actually involved. Because at the moment, the biggest problem is that the lie has been twisted and been propagated so virulently that basically you can't turn anything on or look anywhere without it being in your face, one way or the other. And the worst thing is that what they're showing you is only half of the picture. They're only showing you what they want you to see, because then you'll be forced to think along their lines, whereas you're being deceived by simply not being told the entire story. If you want to help, just make sure you pass the full information around of who this Azov battalion is and how there's ties to the US funding him into power back in 2014 purely to gain control of the country so they could stop oil and gas going into Europe so they could sell oil and gas to Europe for a higher price. I mean, this is diabolical shit, and it's been totally, the light's been totally, you know, shone in a different direction, so you don't actually focus on the nitty-gritties of what's actually underlying all of this. Don't look at who suffers from the problem, look at who profits from it. Follow the money. Is everyone there, or you've all gone quiet?
Oh no, I'm here. I'm just slowly falling asleep at work. Um, uh, you know, you're right. It is, most wars are about power grabs and money anyway. But you know, I've heard that some of the stands want to go back to Russia, and that solves the economic problems in
More
the
than
USS.
70% of the population of Ukraine want to rejoin Russia. they've removed 5 TV stations. The Ukrainian government, the US-backed Ukrainian government, have removed 5 TV stations that weren't towing the line and were exposing the government for what they are. The terror gangs that walk around like the browncoats did during World War II, sorting out anybody that didn't think along the same lines. And they were doing this in groups, in public, brandishing their freedom sticks, I guess, and, you know, making sure to club those people with some freedom and democracy.
Okay. Yeah.
This is the thing, like, people are just only being shown one side of this. You really need to look up this Svoboda party and check out its logo before they changed it. I just looked them up just then because I was going to link them, because their actual logo has got the SS symbol on it. But
Yeah.
just recently, they've rebranded. They're now the all-new, friendly, hip MTV Nazis now. They're the cool
what is
ones,
it?
you know, the ones with the cool tattoos and stuff.
What? The cool text. What the fuck?
Can you show that new? Can you show me that new
They've
logo?
been-
Because I think the new logo is even worse. Just saying.
No, I'll show you the new logo. Because this will make you laugh. Because it's like,
What? It's like the SS logo, like the old lightning
no,
bolts.
well, that's how it used to be. This is the new one. It's like
Oh.
three fingers up
Are you kidding me?
with a
Still-
hand.
That's the new logo.
That's the new logo, rebranded. The Social Nationalist Party of Ukraine. But when you hold your, like, if you click on that, right?
I can't even do that like with my fingers, dude.
Here we go. Here we go. This is the one that you're more familiar with before the rebranding.
Let me see this.
Hey, that one doesn't even
Oh,
have a
what-
swastika.
what- That's it's like a fucked up swastika or a Z.
That's the sign of the SS. That's why
Is
they're
it?
2 S's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is an old
The US
Panzer. That's from a German Panzer region.
Sorry, my brain really can't. I know it's supposed to be 2 S's. But my
Side on,
brain-
one on
my
top
brain-
of the other.
My brain actually sees the Nintendo 64 logo missing the
I
top.
know. I was looking at the same thing.
I know,
was
right?
Looking at the same thing.
I was
and
like-
I just didn't want to say it.
Looks like the Nintendo 64 logo.
Oh,
Yeah. No, I'm glad I'm not the only one that sees that. In
I
there
thought I was
too.
going crazy when I looked at that.
No. That's what that is your gift for pattern recognition.
Look what I just
My
posted
point-
in the chat. Look.
The other one, the last one looks like an eyeball.
It's a black sun symbol of the Nazis. This is a,
I know, but it looks like an eyeball.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like an eyeball. Yeah.
But my point still stands. If anybody wants to help, try and get this information out to show people. Look into it yourself. Just to clarify it for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Do the research. You know what I mean? Like, see it for yourself, because you really have to see it for yourself. When you start finding out what they've actually done and how the National Endowment for Democracy Fund was used to fund neo-Nazis who then killed pro-democracy demonstrators, when you try and wrap your head around that just messes with you. You know what I mean? You're
Do you
just like
say,
scratching your head.
Do you say SAT or C in your country?
What do you mean?
To like spell out S of battalion, so people can search for it.
AZOV.
So if you type that, or go to like Google Images or whatever, type in Azov Battalion, ASAT-OV, right? And you see the logos, and it is like the Nazi logo stuff going on there.
The other one is the Svoboda party in Ukraine, and that was the government group that was being funded by the US using the National Endowment for Democracy Fund. They're a Socialist National Party of Ukraine. Svoboda.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was the Svoboda party that those protesters in Maidan were protesting against.
Okay.
Alright? They were protesting against those neo-Nazis that were trying to take over the government. And were starting to get more influence than what they should have been. And the US saw this as an opportunity and gave them extra funding just to push them in, which gave them, well, it kind of all holds barred.
I see it, yeah. They are Ukrainian ultra-nationalism is what they're being called.
Hey, Glory.
Hey, Glory.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome to the
Okay.
madness we call
I was gonna-
planet Earth.
I said I'm glad you joined. I'm like falling asleep again.
Oh, I mean, I'm surprised y'all are still going, to be honest.
No, we started late.
Yeah, we started late. My day started at 7.
Oh. Hey, mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, give your take on the situation in Ukraine if you want, Lori.
Okay. Independence for the people of Donbass. Respect their fucking sovereignty. They're not political tools. Everybody
What about the
kind
other
of sucks. Everybody kind of sucks in this. I don't know what else to say.
Did you know that?
Warriors are out there.
Did you know that the group that the Russians are fighting are the Azov Battalion neo-Nazi groups?
Yeah, the one that we've been funding since 2014 when the CIA
Yes.
couped the Ukrainian government. I mean, they've been shelling the Donbass region, like, since then, repeatedly.
Yeah.
And, like, it just went ignored, largely.
Oh,
And it
no,
even
no.
escalated about a year ago or so. The shelling
It
on the
wasn't-
region
it wasn't
escalated to the
ignored.
tune of deafening silence.
It wasn't ignored that one time that they tried to blame it on Russia.
Right?
Yeah, that was the one time it wasn't ignored. They drew a bit of attention to it, and there was no evidence for it, so it kind of went back to being ignored.
Yeah, really. They tried to say it was a Russian false flag, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about that, Chief. I mean, it just sucks. The whole thing sucks, honestly.
Yeah.
There's no talk on any of the mainstream TV of the Azov Battalion, their links to right wing, and the US funding them. There's no
Of
talk
course,
of any of
of
that.
course. It's mainstream media. Of course they're not going to talk about the shelling that the people of Donbass have endured. Like, of course they're not going to show the footage of the people of Donbass at the two new republics celebrating their independence. I mean, like, and I don't think that should be used as a political tool for anyone. But at the same time, like, I don't want to be surprised that Vladimir Putin is doing what's completely within his geopolitical interest. Looking at it from a realist perspective, like, it's a strategically advantageous move for him to do this shit, unfortunately. And yeah, people are acting
Regardless whether the
surprised. People are acting surprised that a gangster former KGB officer, president of Russia, would act exactly like you think him to. I mean, I don't. Yeah.
I'm blown away with how, I mean, not you yourself or the people here, but how many others, right, are oblivious to what led up to this and who was the main mastermind in orchestrating all of this. This is what I'm blown away by. How many people just aren't aware of who orchestrated all of this in the very beginning, and their part has just completely remained invisible through the entire duration of this on mainstream media.
True.
And when you bring it to people's attention, they're like, oh my god, are they neo-Nazis? Wait, are we funding them? Oh my god, wait, I didn't know any of this. And it's like, yeah, there's a reason for that. Because now
Well,
you're
and there
looking
were
at it completely
protests
differently.
against it too. And I mean, I can vouch for at least, the United States, but like, there's been protests against continuous aggression on the part of the US and NATO from Russia. And, I don't I don't want to say that those should stop, and I also don't want to imply that the anti-war movement in the US isn't fucking dead, because it still is. But still, there was a National Day of Action for speaking out against war, specifically with regards to this situation, speaking out against war with Russia, calling for no war with Russia. And that's the same day that everybody and their fucking mama was talking about Joe Rogan. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you fucking idiots. Like, where's the anti-war movement?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's
Joe Rogan
only
is a perfect
one question you have to
example.
ask, fam man. There's one question. Like, this is not about what the USA wants or what Russia wants, right? It is only about what do these people of Ukraine want for their future.
But they don't have one right now.
From what I've been hearing, more than 70% of the population in Ukraine wants things to go back to how they were before 2014. They want to go back to Russia. And around little under 30% are diehard nationalists who happen to be oligarchs at the same time, while at the same time who happen to be far right in their views. They're the ones that have been solely benefiting, the 30%, they've been solely benefiting from these deals that have been happening since 2014 with the US and so on and so forth. So they don't want things to change. They don't want to go back to Russia, because then they lose power, they lose control. But they've had to remove, like the corrupt government has had to remove 5 TV stations claiming that it's Russian propaganda, just so to minimize the amount of information that the people are exposed to, because the people were overwhelmingly against them and wanted things to return the way they were. So the country's falling apart from underneath them. They've known this for quite some time, and this is Ukraine's corrupt way of twisting the narrative to try and keep its power together, keep its country together, and to stop the people that just don't want to be a part of this anymore rejoining Russia. That's what this is about. And Russia's saying, no, these people want their own freedom away from you, and they've asked us for help, and we're going to give it. It's as simple as that.
Historically, the region, the two republics that are in the Donbas region, historically, they've sat between, not calling Ukraine or Russia today an empire, but historically they've sat between two empires. And, I'd like for their sovereignty to be taken into consideration, but I know it's not, unfortunately. And speaking of oligarchs, the sanctions put on the freaking starving sanctions put on Russia, that's not going to affect the fucking oligarchs.
No, it won't.
That's the worst part about sanctions. There's so many easy ways if you're an oligarch to skirt those sanctions, and it's only going to come back to fuck up the people, of course.
Yeah,
the psychology behind that is, if you hurt the people, right, they become disenchanted with the leading group in power, and then you use psychological warfare to get them to blame that person for their hardship that you've created, and thereby turning the people against the person that you're sanctioned, that you're actually targeting of the sanctions. You know what I mean? So that's why they target the population. This dates back from ancient wars, when kings and queens would besiege castles and so on and so forth. They would try and get the people to turn against their king, saying, he's putting you through this, he's the one that's caused this upon you, we're just retaliating, we're the good guys here. You know, that sort of psychological warfare.
Oh, what was that gas pipeline that was shut down yesterday? One in Germany.
The Nord Stream 2.
Yeah. They're just gonna hit
That's
up
near
Turkmenistan,
completion.
but like, is that like gas, oil, or because like they get most of their
I think it's
natural gas. Yeah, natural gas. They can just hit up the fucking president of Turkmenistan. He sells to Russia all fucking day long, and they don't have to listen to any sanction shit. They sell it all day long. They're fucking the whole country of Turkmenistan is literally sitting on a huge.
The reason
I
they've
love
chosen
that
to
thing.
go, the
They're,
reason
like-
Russia has chosen to go to Germany is because, historically speaking, they have less drama, and the Germans are more likely to stick with the contract that's been signed.
Yeah, the Turk. Yeah,
And
that guy.
it's a direct line into Europe, and from then Germany can then dictate the prices and so on and so forth. So this is actually in Germany's real best interests. If ASA, the European Energy Consortium group, if they went there, Germany would be doing really well here. But because they're there, they're going to basically gain control of anything coming into Germany that's got to do with energy, and they'll dictate the price. But whatever happens, it's going to push America out of the market, because at the moment what Europe is paying to the US for its gas is massively inflated, which is one of the reasons why in Europe they're paying such large energy prices at the moment, because they're having to get their gas from the US, where instead of usually it used to be from the Ukraine at an inflated price. And they were getting it because Ukraine doesn't actually produce any of the gas. All it is a where the pipeline goes through into Europe. That's all it is. So, they were in a sweet spot. But what the Ukrainian government was doing prior to 2014 is they were turning the gas pipes on and off at will and demanding more money, and in some cases demanding next year's payment in advance, or that they would cut the power supply right here, right now. And countries were like, no, we haven't even started buying that gas from you. You can't ask for that money in advance. Stick to the contract. And Ukraine officials in that area who were running the company, the gas company that was organising the pipes and stuff, was the same company that Biden and his son were trying to get into and got into and somehow on the board and after 2014. But it just shows how much they were manipulating the market prior to 2014. You can go back, Wikipedia's full of gas disputes between Ukraine and Europe, between Russia and Europe, and it was always Ukraine and the oligarchs there who had access to that factory and were earning large amounts, basically wanted more power. And the US just saw it as a perfect opportunity to achieve several goals simultaneously.
That's what's going to come of this at the end of the day. So during this time period, AFRICOM also conducted an airstrike in Somalia. So
Israel also conducted airstrikes in Syria.
Syria for like the bajillionth time.
Saudi Arabia conducted airstrikes in Yemen.
Yeah.
During this.
I had to laugh. I'm not gonna lie. I had to laugh seeing what was it? It was a protest in Israel where they were standing with the Ukrainian government and protesting against quote unquote annexation of their land. I really had to laugh there.
Israel supporting a neo-Nazi government. You have to laugh at that. That is pretty funny. It makes you wonder who helped orchestrate.
Irony.
Who helped orchestrate that fucking protest? I'd like to meet them just to see what kind of a person would do that. Just for curiosity's sake, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my God. Speaking of Israel, Jean-Luc Brunel died. I know it's a wild left turn, but I don't think we've had an ABB since that happened, so I thought I'd bring it up there.
Yeah,
Luke Bennell. He's the researcher.
No, he's the fashion model French guy.
Oh, yes.
Another pedo scumfuck.
He's one of
Yeah.
Oh, he's one of
that was-
Ghislaine's friends, right?
That was another one where the cameras stopped working, and the guards fell asleep again.
The exact same way that Epstein's suicide
That's amazing.
happened.
They should I think there's some sort of supernatural thing at play here now, because if you remove all the things that are logical, whatever illogical remains has to be the answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, we've tried to say, no, somebody turned the cameras off, and they're going, no, that's not it. They just stopped working magically. Or the guard wasn't asleep, he was awake, he turned the blind eye, or was part of it. No, you're just a conspiracy theorist. He was asleep. We have people that could prove he was asleep. Well, why didn't they wake him up? Okay, now you're just a conspiracy theorist.
I mean, he was on a 24-hour suicide watch, but they just had a change of guard. And it happened.
fell asleep.
Oh yeah. It was.
Fell asleep.
It actually came. It actually. There was those two guards actually got into trouble for falsifying records that they were actually watching him. Yeah, they came under fire and lost their jobs, and I think they're still fighting that in court. But those two guards are they're in the hot seat right now. But yeah, they lied. They falsified their reports, and they admitted it in court.
Now, the court system is for the rich, and they can get it to, I don't know, say whatever it wants. And when people lose track of what's happening with these two guards, they'll be let off with a slap on the wrist, and then they'll be able to sue for damages, and they'll get a payout, and, it'll be right.
The meaning demeanor is, like I've said this a million times, it's pretty hard for a guy to break his fucking vertebrae in a cell jumping from the top bunk. I mean, yeah, I've heard of like fluke accidents, but you need a lot of force to fucking snap somebody's neck. It's not just as easy as you think, Hey, but I don't know shit, right? Whatever.
Same. I don't know anything. I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, you gotta really. I mean, the only way he would have been able to do it is if he was like in one of those prison 3-tower tiers and he fucking made a noose and jumped off. Said during chow time, jumped off the fucking rail and did a swan dive, and then he would have snapped his neck. But yeah, you need. I think it's like 6 or 12 feet. I think that's what they used to use to hang people. In the old days, at least 12 feet high. It's got to be a significant force. There's a proper height to snap somebody's neck. And I'm sorry, but where he was from at, it's just not. It's not. Even many people have said it's not the right height to snap your neck. Somebody did it. Probably his fucking didn't he have a bunkie? So
I don't know. I think when you're on suicide watch, I don't know if they put you in.
I don't know either. I don't know because he was in I think he was in a federal penitentiary or something like that. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, he was fucking off, dude, because Prince Andrew or whatever the fuck his name is, pedo.
He
Prince,
just paid out. He just paid out. What's the name?
Yeah, the settlement with Virginia Guffrey.
Yeah. Like, please leave me alone, money.
Yeah.
I want this to go away.
It won't go away. Fucking Queen just annexed you. Yeah, it's not going away.
I don't know. These young boys just None of them
He was-
think, I swear to God.
He's not young. He's in his 60s.
Yeah.
All that means is how many times he's been around the sun.
Oh, bro,
Look-
here we go
look,
again.
If we're gonna, if let's look at how he's acting, okay, and then let's look at his age, okay? Because right
That's
now,
true.
if you're gonna judge him on how many times he's been on a roller coaster, right? I'm years old, right? I'm older than time itself. Do you know how many times you can go on a roller coaster in one day? It's what you learn
No.
on the ride that makes
Depends
the
on
difference.
the roller coaster.
It's what you learn on the ride. It's what you learn on the ride that makes the difference. And obviously he
Jesus,
hasn't learned
Frankie,
much.
man.
He's just been waving his arms around, having a good old time, thinking this ride's fun. Not realizing how does nobody else love the ride? Perhaps they're on a different ride.
You know, the royal family. This isn't the only family member I've heard weird shit about. I don't know who it was. Weird sex stuff, and it's not only from this one.
Weird.
I mean, it's the
sex.
whole royal family, really.
Yeah, yeah.
They do have a homosexual family member that they were trying to keep hidden way back. I know that. That was a big problem back then. Now it wouldn't be a problem at all.
Well, now it's all the shit with what's her face, Megan, where cause she's part Trini, I think. Yeah, or Trinidadian, but I think she's a Trini. I could be wrong.
The one that actually made an issue of that was the Queen's husband or Duke or whatever his name is, who just recently passed away after the injections. The COVID injections were starting to be given out. What's his name?
I don't know.
Prince Philip, or that guy that the Queen was.
I don't
The
know.
old guy that looked like a scrotum.
You're not. I can guess really generic prince names: Charles, Philip,
Give me a sec,
Andrew,
I'm gonna Google this.
David,
I don't even know.
Henry. I don't know. I really don't.
One of them.
Prince
But
Philip.
yeah,
Duke of-
yeah.
Prince
Well, because
Philip.
there was a
Philip,
shit where
Duke of
everybody was.
Edinburgh.
Because there was a shit where everyone was like, "Oh my god, could you believe that that some people allege that the royal family is a racist institution?" And it's like, yeah, no fucking shit. It's a pedophile institution too.
It was Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, who made a comment about her skin colour. And the fact that they had somebody now of dark skin in their family. And it was, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. And no longer do we have to worry about what he had to say, because he's passed away now. He passed
Why do
away
we-
on the 10th of
Why do
June
we still have
2020.
the royal family?
2021.
Why do we still-
No, 9th of April.
Why do we
Because
even
they
have
have money.
Yeah, but they only have money
And they
because
own
people.
a lot of stuff.
That's because people think that they own. I mean, you know how things work out. You know, second you start losing power, things ain't yours anymore. You know.
Well,
I'm just saying.
The Bank of England was taken over a long time ago by the same interests that funded the New World, known as the Americas, into being. So yeah, they're the same people that organised the Federal Reserve into being, and yeah, it all dates back
dead.
from Europe.
I was gonna say all the people that organize the Fed, they're all dead now.
Yeah, but their offspring are not, and there's a group that sort of monitors all of this,
Well,
keeps a track of things.
I've said a long time, the Federal Reserve should have fucking been fucking wiped off the face of the planet about 100 years ago, or
It's
80 years ago.
2022 now. 2022 now.
I know, and
There's no
America
need to
still
be
doesn't.
capping for the Fed in 2022. It's like neoliberals. I'm surprised that people still identify as neoliberals in 2022. Like, people
what
still
I don't
support the Fed in 2022.
What
Yeah.
I don't understand is why people, even why America still doesn't print its own money and then borrows it at interest. I mean, you could just like say it's just a false institution, and you could still not devalue your own fucking money. Just get rid of it. Yes, there would be a ton of paper. There'd be tons of paperwork issues, and yeah, there'd be some people like that'd be lose money on loans or whatever. But what I'm saying is, like, there's been tons of presidents before that have said the same thing about a central bank that doesn't belong to its own government. You put the power in somebody else's hands. If it ain't in your hands, you don't have any power. You're just bending over backwards to somebody else. And the IRS wouldn't exist if there was no Fed. Really. It wouldn't. Or am I wrong about that one too? I don't think I'm wrong.
The two do go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do, because when you pay the IRS, some of that goes, a majority of it actually goes to the interest on the loans. Not just mortgages and all the other shit, but a lot of when you pay to the IRS goes to the interest on the loans. Some people think it's 100%. It's not. It used to be that way. It's not that way anymore. Yeah, America's debt. What is America at, like 30 gillion or whatever it is that now? It used to be 20 trillion. That shit'll never be paid off.
Of debt?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why, let's go to the U.S. debt clock and check.
Watch, it's at a Googleplex, one followed by a billion zeros or something.
It's not that bad. We're only 30,149,648,206,789. Okay, well, yeah. So
when Obama was president, it was like a 19.
Yep, we're $30 trillion in debt right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. That'll never get paid off.
It's not. I mean, it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be. It's only meant to show that people could trust that you pay your interest every now and then. And yeah.
Well, I guess it is. I guess it is fake because it's all just printed off of it. It's all just electronic. If you want another $1 billion to exist, you just type it into the computer.
Keep in mind that out of that has gone into private people's pockets, but the debt is still on the country and the people. Whereas these private people that have lined their own pockets, do not consider themselves as part of that group that has to pay it back.
That would only be. What is the Federal Reserve? The Federal Reserve, it holds money for other countries too, like fucking third world countries and Central Asia and all sorts of weird places. But yeah, the only people I know that would be the lenders to the Federal Reserve would be like what you said, the IMF. And I honestly, those people are enigmas to me. I don't know any of those people. I don't even know.
They're meant to be. Because, like, they'll say that they don't want all of the investing families to be mentioned, the ones that invest in the World Bank, the IMF, and the Federal Reserve, because that would then make them targets for kidnapping and ransom demands and things like that.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, it also protects them from scrutiny as well.
Yeah, I'd say I trust the IMF about as much as I trust a phone call from a Nigerian prince. Maybe a little less even.
That's a given.
Yeah.
But you never know. He might pay out. You never know.
The organization is there primarily to make its investors profits. That's what it's there for. but it's being used as a massive system of control because the massive amount of wealth that it happens to have, which then gives those people complete control as a group over all of the other subgroups, while at the same time compartmentalizing everything.
Well, I believe that the Federal Reserve system and the U.S. national debt system is created to capture all the resources and real estate from the countries they target, right? It's like they capture all this new country. Now they want to catch Ukraine, whatever, and the resources in it, and it's a huge country with a huge amount of real estate. They can use it as collateral to borrow new money for the national debt. You can print new money.
By creating instability, right, they capture all of the assets of the poor. Because as soon as you throw in instability into the working class, with their ability to make or to have an income, to pay their bills, pay off their loans and so on and so forth, instantly, when you create instability there, you start making a whole bunch of goods, land, and all of this other stuff available for cheap as it gets repossessed on mass scale. And only those with money can take advantage of these situations. And this is where the wealth transfer is taking place subtly and quietly behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Like you're just not noticing, or when you do, you just go, "Oh, that person, just should have paid their bills, serve themselves right." But
technically, Fanny man, technically, they only have to keep the dollar value up until they captured all the resources they want. They can dump the dollar, and the repayments in dollars won't be worth shit. But they have all the resources. So
and
whatever
land.
economic processor is behind that is a pretty smart dude or woman. Like because they're able to blackmail the whole world because they borrow money from the whole world, and that entire world benefits from keeping the dollar up. Because if they're going to be repaid in worthless toilet paper money, they won't get their money back. So they want to keep the petrodollar up forever, and the Americans in the meantime can capture every country in the world, all the resources, use it as collateral to create more and more debt endlessly, fund all these wars from it, and then the other countries are blackmailed into keeping the value up, and the Americans can drop it whenever they want because they already have the resources. You can create a new currency. Say like, we have now the $2, and every $1 is worth 1,000 gazillion old dollars, right?
Oh, they're actually going to do that. The crypto dollar.
Some digital currency that's going to be inherently more trackable and incredibly surveilled. Can't wait.
Oh, good. They can seal the drug types.
If you think about it, with the amount of cash that's being removed from circulation, forcing people to use digital transactions, whether they're being card or buying stuff off the internet and so on and so forth, it's not a far step to move to a digital currency because technically we're already using it. It's just not called Bitcoin currently. But we are using a digital currency and a digital system to pay for stuff. It's just not called Bitcoin currently, and it doesn't work in the same principle. But quite frankly,
Vandy Man, it's credit. It's credit, Vandy Man.
No, I agree. But the use of it online and with a card system, with credits laid to your card and so on and so forth, allowing you to pay for things, is there. Like the whole infrastructure is there for the merge. It's inevitable merge. It's to think it's not it would just be silly because the two just go in hand to hand. They just haven't been fully merged yet.
It's important.
Well, now most Americans don't even use hard cash anymore. It's like it's not like I've said this for the past 10 years. It's like it's more and more common for people not to carry physical money on them. For Americans, it's more and especially now during COVID, some people don't even want to deal with it. Don't even want to risk it handling money.
They don't want to touch somebody else's money that somebody else has touched in fear of catching something, so they just pay by card.
Okay, but it is important to mention it is actually credit. It's going to be credit and not money, because in the future, of course, you will own nothing and you will be happy, right? And
Because you'll be given credits.
yeah, you're giving credits to do to get to a product will be a service, right? So you're giving credit and you can temporarily use a certain product, which you don't own, but you can use it in the system, and that's what you get credit for. And you can get those more credits if you're a good citizen and you park your bike in the right place and stuff. Then you can get more credits, easy access to more credits. So,
But if you start criticizing the government and its choices of what neo-Nazi group they want to fund, by God, look how quick your credit system will crash.
no credits for you, very well.
Yeah, you've got to support the same neo-Nazis as your government, otherwise, no credits for you. You're a bad citizen, and how dare you try and think you know better than your government? Don't you know the best way to bring peace is to supply and support neo-Nazis with Javelin missile launchers? I mean, don't you know anything?
Well, Vandy,
What
man.
school of freedom? What school of freedom and democracy did you go to?
Well, remember, we had 4 years of peace with Donald Trump. He didn't get us into any new wars. He just expanded AFRICOM, conducted more drone strikes than Obama, conducted some war crimes in Yemen, funded some more neo-Nazis, committed some war crimes in Syria, and tons of other war crimes.
I was just going to say, within the first couple of days of being in office, he bombed Syria, launched Raytheon missiles into Syria, blew up an airfield that the Syrian government was using to fight ISIS.
Yeah, Donald
And
Trump
all
was
of
never
this
his entire White House was filled with Goldman Sachs people. He bought the weapons that Biden was using in Syria. So
Yeah.
this one team. This team
Yeah,
destruction.
no. It is. It's the dual party illusion. The dual party politics illusion. It's the two
Guys-
parties are there to make sure no change ever actually takes place.
But I have to do 5 seconds in between because someone in the chat, Disobey, is pitching Monero pretty hard. He's pitching so hard. He says XMR is king and Monero is on at this time. Go check out XMR, alias Monero.
I gave up on XMR so long ago, dude.
I've still got XMR.
I don't. I sold it all many years ago. I mean, not many years. It was like, wait years? Like 4 years ago. Yeah, I sold it all. I was done with it.
I'm just saying it because I want.
They kept on saying banks are going to use this on the back end. Banks are going to use it. Some banks actually did, but a majority did not.
The dark web was
Yeah.
using it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something. That is an economy too. Yeah, I'm just saying it because he's very persistent at pushing it, and persistence should pay off. As activists, we should know that. You have to keep.
They've been saying that.
Aw.
Everybody's been saying that about XMR for years now. Everybody, even I know people that have lost tons of money into that. Buying into that XMR stuff. Like, when will it pay off? Like,
There is
I mean-
such times. There are such times where persistence doesn't pay off.
Yeah. I'm pretty patient investor, but years go by and it's, come on, I mean, I've seen better investments on the stock market, honestly, than I have in XMR. I'm sorry.
Nah, same, especially over COVID. Like,
Yeah.
if you knew where to invest over COVID, you would have made, well,
Right.
easy, minimum 50% profit, if not, in some places, 100 to 200% profit.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Especially the biotech industry, yeah.
Yep. Biotech was surging. Anything to do with masks, sanitation,
Medicine.
medicine. Yeah, no, it was, or just medical supplies companies.
Well, even
They were doing really
precursors,
well.
even precursors to the chemicals they use to make some of the medicines, those went up too. Those are the hidden ones. Those are the hidden
Yes.
bangers that nobody looks at.
Yes.
I
Also
know what they
following
are.
where the technology for the future is going to, of where to invest there in precious metals and so on and so forth.
I actually didn't know. I actually didn't know until recently that
And rare metals.
they use merperidine to make psych meds, and I was like, what the fuck? You guys use fucking synthetic opiate derivatives to make psych meds?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I was
cheaper
like,
than
what
having
the fuck?
to. It's
Yeah,
cheaper than having to make it.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's because like I guess I was told the same thing. Yeah, it's like a quick step process than to go
That's why it's good to have a
remake everything.
country. That's why it's good to have a country to grow opium for you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
important for the pharmaceutical industry.
I actually
It
don't know.
cuts a hell of a lot of cost, man. Like, you wouldn't believe
Oh
it.
yeah, you're right. Merperidine's made from thebaine, which is the stem of the poppy. That's right. Okay. Yeah. Whatever. I'm off topic.
It's all for your good, alright? Stop resisting. Just shut up and take the jab.
I'll take more heroin. That's fine.
Hey, so in the chat,
Imagine-
they're asking in the chat if we took down RT. I can only speak for our people on our show. We're not getting involved in this politics kind of thing. I know
Look-
other Anons do their own stuff, and I've seen it too. We don't get involved in this.
If you support free speech, right, you support all form of free speech. You don't have to agree with it.
Well, there was
To
a
support
because
free
there was a tweet I just passed it on my timeline from an anonymous account that said we took the anonymous collective took down RT, but it did just go to RT.com and it's back up. So I don't know how long ago it was.
Yeah, I noticed.
But
I noticed when they posted that, and I was even like the post was like an hour old, and I was able to go to RT, and I don't know, maybe because sometimes when you hit stuff, especially with certain attacks, like it only will block out a certain region, so it might not be every region that was blocked out. Maybe some.
Yeah, well, also if they start attacking sites as large as RT, they need to do research first on it. RT.com, you do a simple, you do a who is on it. It is hosted in Virginia in the USA, so you're actually hitting USA targets. Actually, you're hitting Virginia, which is like the CIA main location, I think. So you're hitting.
Oh, why aren't they using a CDN? Like,
I'm not sure. Maybe they are using, but they're using lease web in and they in the Virginia location. So they were targeting a US based location. So you're
yeah, if they have
targeting
if they have a CDN, that's just a click of a mouse, and the attack is moved the whole site is moved somewhere else. Yeah.
Either way,
Look, I get it.
either way,
It's there. Okay, so they're allowed to do this. Like anonymous non-leaders or whatever. It's not like one. They can do whatever they want. It's like we can't like condone it or something, or like be in favor or against it. But like I as like as a podcast, I can only speak for myself. I don't get involved in these kind of things. Like it's not what. I wanted to push, like, at least think about the people who are living there. If you want to do something good, maybe focus on. There's people who are going to be probably in like a food crisis, losing their homes and everything. You can help those people if you want to do good things. Think about these people first. But the normal civilians are always the real victims in any war. And Russia is a major empire. USA is a major empire. They're fighting over a country. The population itself is always going to be full. Same as in Yemen, in Palestine, whatever, everywhere. It's the same bullshit. Yeah, you can do many good things. You can find out how you can help people who are in food crisis or whatever. That was what I would say.
Yeah.
right now how you can help is by getting the truth out of what's actually going on there and who's fighting who and so on and so forth, because this is not just some simple Russia's attacking Ukraine story. This is that to believe that is to be completely misled. There's a lot more at play here that is not being told, and it's not being told for a purpose. And the purpose is to deceive the public. And this is the important thing. So if you want to help, make sure that, people find out everything about this Azov battalion and the Svoboda party and their movements and their actions in Ukraine, and how the people don't like what's going on but can't speak out about it because they get targeted for harassment by their own government for resisting Nazism. They're looking to rewrite the textbooks to train and to teach the next generation to show the Nazis as heroes of Europe. I mean, this is the sort of stuff we're supporting by supporting the Svoboda Party and the Azov Battalion and the Ukrainian government as it stands. Why do you think they've got an actor in the role of a president or prime minister or whatever he's playing or pretending, whatever role he's currently playing? This is probably his most famous role. This one will cement his place in history as the greatest actor ever. Like, if you want to help, get the information out. Make sure everybody sees what is happening behind the curtain. That's the best thing you can do currently to help. Because that way you can guarantee that the information is going to go to the source instead of sending money or just throwing money at the problem and thinking that will help because it'll make you feel better. Right? At least when you send the information, it doesn't cost you anything. People get a better idea of what's going on and are much more informed to be able to make a decision. An informed decision. Not be coerced into a decision by deception. Through deliberate removal of facts out of the equation, which change the entire narrative. I mean, when you're removing facts that change the entire narrative, you're deceiving the person you're telling the story to. Why is this not obvious? Am I tripping? Am I like striking out of something? Like,
no, it is obvious, but we all have to be a bit honest about Russia. They're not like the nicest country either.
No, I'm not saying they are, but funny enough, the country that is telling you that they're bad, Russia's bad, right, is the same country that's funding neo-Nazis in Russia's doorstep. So just think about that for a second, okay?
Yeah,
the same country that's telling you who the bad guy is the one that's funding neo-Nazis. Now, I don't know where I come from, but neo-Nazis, right, tended to be, what's the word, antisocial, I guess, is one way to put it, and would do antisocial things, which would generally be considered as bad. So you've got the good guys telling you who the bad guys are in this scenario, who just happen to be funding the bad guys.
But, I mean, in this instance, like, what one can think about Putin and Russia doesn't necessarily come from the U.S. It comes from just general observations of who Vladimir Putin actually is beyond, like, this whole, strong man persona that the U.S. and West tries to assign to him at large. I mean, behind it, he's cutting deals with all these guys behind the scenes, so...
So is the U.S., but what's happening, right? Are you getting your news about what Putin is saying and who Putin is from the West, or are you getting it from... Because you got to look at both sides, right? When have you ever actually heard somebody you trust actually translate what Putin is actually saying? Or heard
last
him
night
speak? And who did the translation? And can you give me a link?
I don't want to give you a link because it was a friend doing it in a voice call.
Roger. But yeah, no, it's important to get somebody that you can trust to do the translation for you. Because don't trust the mainstream news to do the translation for you. Show a picture of Putin and then them tell you what Putin is saying.
Yeah, I know.
That's all. That's all I was getting to. Because how the West translates it to push its narrative is
Oh, it's
completely different.
garbage.
Look,
It's garbage.
for
It's
us it's
garbage, but I know
obvious.
that.
For us it's obvious. Like we have been experiencing so much bullshit with our own governments in the West that it's very hard for us to trust anything these people say at this point, right? Like we just had like 2 years of complete like destruction of all our human rights. Like we can't even protest anymore without being beaten up in the streets. Like obviously, and now they're creating
Yeah,
us
that's
an
not to
enemy.
go away.
No, and so they're creating an outside enemy for us to focus on. So we no longer hate on our governments, and we no longer aim to restore anything of our human rights. But like what I'm saying is that Russia isn't much better. I mean, the last decade they killed 63 journalists, independent journalists. They all died in
Look,
mysterious circumstances. And
I'm not saying that they're great.
like when
I'm
they
just
talk
saying
about
that
Julian Assange, for example, which is fair, they would look how we're treating Julian Assange in the West. Yeah, but they murdered like 61, at least 61,
no, look,
63
I'm not
in a row.
saying I'm not saying that they're heroes, right? All I'm saying is that this Ukraine situation, when you have the full facts, is very clear cut, right? And it's quite easy to see who are the main players in this and the dastardly things that they've done to put
Well,
this
I
into
mean, yeah,
action.
but in larger geopolitical interests, it would make sense for Putin and Russia to do a move like that into eastern Ukraine. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think that they had the people's hearts in mind on, well, the people in the eastern Ukraine, like the people of the eastern Ukraine's hearts in mind, honestly, when they were making that move. They were thinking, like, we can't let this become a front for NATO. We need a buffer, a bunch of other geopolitical stuff. But I don't think that they're keeping the people of the Donbass region at their heart. I think it was more like it's a strategically advantageous move for them to make. Unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily paint them as some like virtuous actor doing what they were forced to do. Like, no.
Personally, I think Putin is thinking, right, we don't need a neo-Nazi far-right government who hates us on our doorstep. And now there's a group of people within that group that have shown that they don't side with the neo-Nazis, and they've asked us for assistance and want to rejoin the Russian Federation, and it's our duty to assist them in this transition. Secondly, the NATO treaty has been broken so many times for them to end up on our border to begin with, that was originally signed to be a certain distance away from each other so that no conflicts could ever arise. But when you're dealing with a corrupt group of individuals who lead the US like their own personal business, you can't trust anything that they sign or of any treaties, because they were the ones that put the neo-Nazis into power and caused the coup on your border within your own country to begin with. They were the ones that created this mess. And now we have to clean it up.
Well, yeah.
So thanks to the US for funding neo-Nazi extremists within Russia to cause them to separate from Russia, to now us having to waste resources to bring it back and to fix the problem that you created, just so you could stop oil and gas from going into Europe, so that you could sell your oil and gas for an exorbitant price to Europeans, and make a massive profit. Was it all worth it?
I mean, if you ask them, they're going to say yes.
Well, a lot of people did make a lot of money, Glory. This is important, okay? It doesn't matter, right? I'm all for democracy, and I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to kill to attain it, okay? This is what you need to understand about democracy and freedom, is we want it at all cost, and nothing will stand in our way. We will crush and destroy everyone to attain freedom and democracy.
Ugh.
I know, right? I like to put it in such a way where it kind of shows the ludicrousness of it. You know what I mean? Like, it just... And seriously, when you think about it from that perspective, you're sitting there thinking, how can people be okay with this? Because they're fed a lie through the mainstream media.
The same
They
way
leave
people
out
are okay with
facts.
genocides happening, with the genocide happening in Yemen. The same way they're okay with the Zionist occupation of Palestine. The same way they're okay with every fucking injustice and
Actually,
fucking
they're not okay with it. They're
terrible
just...
tragedy that's happened to the continent of Africa and various countries in there, because they just don't know. They don't feel the cost of it, or even if they do feel the cost of it, they don't know that they're feeling the cost of it. And then sometimes they just don't care, because it's like, oh, well, I got bills to pay, I got this to do, I got this to do, so I just can't think about that right now, and it's fucked.
Many people do not have the same access to the data as you and I. So they're kind of not fully confronted with it. And then many that are fully confronted with it, that are intelligent enough to go and do their own research and dig deeper, do find themselves in a dilemma where they're overwhelmed, right, and black-pilled, and overwhelmed by the problem, to the point where they think, shit, I've got my own problems. I can't deal with this, while at the same time stressing at how I'm going to pay my bills by next week so I don't get thrown out. I've got my family to feed, I've got bills coming in, I've got the rent coming in, I've got to put up with another day at work where I don't want to be, but I know I have to be because that's all I can get at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, I understand how it all works, but it's just getting the information out there to the people in a helpful way where it fills in the gaps where the media isn't telling them the truth, the whole truth, is where the most amount of good can be done. Because that way people will be fully informed, not just the tactics that are currently being used to deceive them and arming them for the future, so that way next time they'll look deeper because they know, oh shit, they tried to fool me last time, you know, I've got to look into things now. But yeah, people will act accordingly if you give them all the truth, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep. We got voices, so use them.
so yeah, when you see somebody that doesn't seem to understand what is actually happening there, engage with them in a conversation. Link them some information that tells them, you know, of what they're not being told about the crisis, where it originated, who are the major players. Let them know that the same people that were organising the coup in Ukraine in 2014 are the same people that are in power now, and are the same people that are in that Azov battalion that are currently fighting or confronting the Russians. Now, war is not good, but when you have a bunch of neo-Nazis who are armed with military-grade equipment on your doorstep, it tends to make you a little bit nervous. It would be the equivalent of China or Russia moving into Mexico, funding a whole bunch of neo-Nazis on the American-Mexican border, and then turning them against America. As ludicrous as that sounds, it would be the same equivalent. And then when America goes in to sort out these neo-Nazis that are threatening their border and threaten the people of Mexico, and Mexico asks the US for help, the whole international community goes, look, America's invading Mexico. Quick, we got to do something. We got to sanction them. How dare they kill all of those innocent people? Now, I'm not pro-war, but I'm pro-honesty and transparency to what's actually going on. And if the truth was, shown to be what it is, instead of hidden, we could avoid this whole war thing altogether. Because deep down, people are good. It's just that they've been deceived and led astray by those with forked tongues. Got to fix that. Be the light in the darkness for those that are lost in the caves.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. Shit, people would fucking flip upside down if they found out you was just fucking Nazis. What the fuck? Oh. This world's already fucking crazy. Nothing surprises me anymore. You know? Fucking CIA fucking flying cocaine planes all over the fucking place, you know?
That was the Iran-Contras.
Yep.
And they were going in and out of Mena, Arkansas, and Bill Clinton was the governor, the youngest governor ever.
Yeah, his brother was dabbling in it too. His little brother was fucking sniffing coke too. Yeah.
Bill Clinton was the Padawan of the Jedi Master George Bush Sr., the Sith Lord George Bush Sr., right? Bill Clinton was his young Padawan. Not even George Bush's son had, the privy of that position. This was left to young, charming go-getter called Bill Clinton, who had his way with the ladies and loved parties with young girls, with his friends back in the early days.
He also likes to smoke weed too. Yeah.
They had a big thing for cheerleaders at the time, I remember. Ruined a lot of lives, fed them a lot of coke, and partied hard with high school cheerleaders. That didn't go down well.
No.
Those ladies, whenever they wanted to speak up about what was going on, mysteriously came down with like coke ODing and stuff. Terrible thing.
You overdose on coke though. Like seriously, like you gotta do a lot.
Like, there was a lot going around, but yeah, no, you
I was gonna say that's gonna get expensive to get an overdose. I mean,
you don't have
the
to.
Effects, the effects don't last very long if you're a daily user. I mean, most of the cokeheads that come in, with deviated septums tell me they're only high for like 5 minutes, but then you get somebody who doesn't use it and they're high for like 4 hours, or an hour.
You can give him heroin and tell him it's coke.
Yeah, you know what? One of my patients said that it was really fucked up, and he said, "What's the best way to kill off somebody if they're a drug addict?" And he said, "Just fucking give them too much heroin." And I said, "What the fuck? I don't want to know that shit."
It's in the CIA handbook of dispatching people.
Well, it's not my specialty. A specialty in wanting to know how people are gonna die. Like,
no, but it's interesting that they actually have a booklet on it.
Jesus Christ.
The most simplest methods are always the best because they can be put down to accidents.
Well, yeah, because half the time overdoses aren't when you have an overdose, especially in the city of LA, they don't really investigate it unless you're somebody important. Other than that, if you're like a junkie or whatever, they don't even investigate it. They just go straight off to the fucking crematorium if nobody claims you in 30 days.
Yep. Or medical research.
Yeah, one or the other.
Where then you're made fun of by medical students carving you up.
Yeah, or somebody dropped a pizza and your pepperoni in your fucking chest cavity. I'm sorry. I like to joke that shit doesn't happen, but it does.
I know it does.
You fucking med students, dude.
It's interesting, right, that when you pass your doctorate, they don't actually, advertise to everyone at what you passed by or how barely you passed. And then instantly you're given the respect and authority that a doctor gets. Even though you just scraped through, you're still given the same authority as, the top ranking doctors, the ones that pass with flying colours.
Unfortunately, in my experience in the field is that there are a majority of the doctors out there are actually bad doctors that barely passed,
Yeah.
and there's only like 10% that actually
You know how
know
many of those
stuff.
bad doctors are on board with the vaccine currently?
Oh,
Those doctors that just scraped through.
I don't know.
That even their colleagues were going, "Oh my God, I'd hate to be his patient."
It's not even that. It's like they if it isn't fucking diabetes, if it isn't high cholesterol, if it isn't some normal form of cancer, if it isn't some sort of normal autoimmune disease, if you don't fit these basic categories of stuff, and it's something that you got to do some research on, and you got to dig, and you got to do extensive tests, like I was watching this one documentary, and this is one thing that got me pissed off. It was called oh god, one of my friend's wives was watching. I was watching with her. It was called medical mishaps or something like, or medical anomalies. And this kid got blood on him from an armadillo, and he was going to a doctor regularly for a year with these lesions all over his body. And it didn't occur to anybody to do an epithelial sample of the stuff that was oozing from these things, only to find out he was suffering from leprosy from getting in contact from the fucking armadillo. Meanwhile, he almost died. And here I am thinking, how incompetent are you? You didn't fucking run a test. What did you do? Just think antibiotics would get rid of it? Fucking retard. You need to take rifampin. You need to take rifampin for a year or whatever, dude. Rifampin can also kill you.
Here. You're missing the big picture, alright? He's got a house to pay off. He's got a yacht to pay off, alright? And you just don't understand how life works, okay? This is the problem. You're out of touch with reality, right? And you need to really sort of come back down to earth. Because if you think doctors are there to help you, right?
I looked at his skin. I could tell you it was leprosy.
Like everybody else, trying to pay off their house and feed their family.
I mean, seriously, you know those medical documents of people that have middle stages of leprosy before they get deformed. You think the skin discoloration would have? Jesus Christ! I get it.
I personally, right? I'm not a doctor or any professional here, right?
Yeah.
But I would have sent him in for a pathology result to get some blood work done.
Yeah, nobody did that either.
Because if you have a good pathologist, even if the patient can't speak and is completely unconscious, so you can't get any information from him whatsoever, a good pathologist can tell you exactly what is wrong with the patient, what's happening internally, what internal organs are ruptured or damaged or not working, or a plethora of different things can be taken through just looking at the blood work. It's
a lot of doctors don't even want to do extensive testing, and they have their own reasons. And I sometimes agree with them that sometimes doctors will order tests even though they don't know what the fucking cause is. Like one of them did it to me, and he said one doctor said, "Oh, your optic nerve is distended," and I said, "Okay, all right, I'm gonna fucking go with this one, but I know it's because I'm on fucking I'm on corticosteroids, and that can happen." Especially with some of the nerves, it'll look like that until some of the nerves will look under a microscope will look kind of funny until you stop taking them. But then this guy, he goes back and he goes, "Dude, you need to come back. We need to put dye into you to figure out what's going on." I told his fucking receptionist, I said, "You don't have a fucking clue what's wrong with me. If you really did, you would have ran some blood work to see why the fucking nerve was going that way, rather than some fucking physical manifestation that you're going to dump some fucking dye into to look when you've already put lights into my eyes to see the back of the fucking eye. What else can you see if you dump blue dye into me? Well, what else will you see? Nothing." Well, fucking retard.
He will see an extra $110, right, on the extra consultation.
Yep.
Plus the extra on sending you in for an MRI.
Oh, no, they
Right.
want to put that for the medication, whatever the blue dye was. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
what
but
the-
you got to go
yeah.
into a machine for you to be scanned, right? And there's extra for that, right? And the beauty of that is once I send you on that, then you have to come back and see me for another $110 visit.
Yeah, and the
So
thing
out
is,
of two
like the worst.
visits, I've already made 220 off of you so far, and my mate that works in that department has also made a little bit. If I can, I'll probably try and get you to come in for a third time just as a checkup, because that way I can get $300 off you.
They've called me literally 20 times off a visit. I only went once. I'm like, I told them several times. I said, "Are you?" I even told the company. I said, "Are you running a medical office, or are you trying to run some sort of fucking cash cow? Because obviously you're not into helping people. If I tell you I don't want any help, like if I don't want any help, I don't want any help.
Is this
That's my
recently?
choice."
Tyler,
Yeah,
is this recently? Yeah, because what's
Yeah.
happened, right, recently, because of the COVID situation, a lot of well-informed doctors, now these are the doctors that really know their shit, they actually give a shit about the patient, right? These are
Yeah.
the guys that have refused the vaccine for whatever reason. Some have taken the first shot, had a really bad reaction, right, that almost killed them, and then decided not to have the second shot, and thereby had to then give up their practice. Now what you've left with is all of these yes men who basically just scraped through their doctorate and now littering the marketplace. Because that's what it is. It's not a hospital anymore or a medical network, it's a marketplace. You with me? Because
Yeah, I'm with
real
you.
doctors have had to be removed because they were asking too many questions. They wanted answers to be able to answer their patients. Because they're asking the same questions that their patients are asking.
I got you. But like I really don't know what is going on. With the medical industry. It just seems like more and more each year they're just they're running what do you call it? They're not interested in helping people. They're more interested in money, and that's the part that has disgusted me about the industry over the years.
That's how you can tell whether you've got a good doctor or not. Is what does he truly care about you as a patient?
That's why I
Does
left
he give you the
addiction
time,
medicine.
or does he care about the money and keeps rolling you through like an endless
Yeah,
fast
all those rehabs,
food medical restaurant?
all those rehabs and addiction medicine. You know how much those fucking guys are making off of you? They charge you. I should say this out loud. They'll charge you up front anywhere between $30,000 and $90,000, depending on your fucking on your insurance, right? And then they'll pad it because they know the insurance will try to only give them 20%, right? So meanwhile, you're still left with like a $45,000 bill, right? And your insurance company is only going to cover what 10 or 20% of it. Okay, the actual cost per day is about $200 to $250 per patient, depending on how many patients they. But most of the mega rehabs can run off of that. The smaller ones need at least $500 a day. Meanwhile, they're billing your insurance $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,000 a day. It's fucking ridiculous. That's why I left the addiction medicine. It's a fucking scam. Your kid's better off fucking going to church or whatever, or AA or whatever the fuck.
I wouldn't say church.
Or whatever the fuck
God.
it is. Yeah.
Get away from the church.
Yeah, something. Find something that'll make you happy. Even even Bill Wilson himself. He didn't actually think of that shit when he was like with the Oxford group. He fucking came up with that shit, and I had to find this out the hard way. Even I was oblivious to this. Yeah, he was tripping on belladonna, on one of those. Remember that belladonna treatment that fucking guy was on that started AA? Yeah, he was tripping on fucking psychedelics when he thought of that shit. And even he himself in the 1950s was using LSD to combat his alcoholism because he knew that AA was a false institution that couldn't keep him sober. It's a fucking joke.
Actually, much of our history may have to thank the mushrooms and the fungi of the world.
It is. It's psychedelics are a real cure. Yeah, psilocybin, and so is that one. What is that shit from Africa? Ibogaine.
Ibogaine. It's a fucking miracle drug for heroin addicts in ayahuasca.
I'm not sure with ibogaine, but I know psilocybin does actually allow new neural pathways to form.
It depends. It depends on
brain,
It depends on the dosage, though.
growth.
Really. Yeah, it depends on the dosage and how frequently you're using. If you most psychedelic users, and this is just my experience in working with addicts. Psychedelic users, like the true psychedelic user, is like 10%, and most of them aren't addicts. No, actually, no, 50%. Actually, 50% of psychedelic users are not drug addicts, and they're there for some. They're for some other spiritual reasons, and the other 50% are just drug addicts dicking around with stuff they don't understand. They go, "Whoa, I don't like that shit. I'll just stick to heroin," you know. So, but I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I do know that science does have a cure to fucking drug addictions called Versed or fucking. If psychedelics, we have opiate blockers, you know. Besides that, I'm just saying the whole medical industry is just, it's all profit driven, and I don't like it. It's, you know, doctors are more interested in a paycheck than they really are helping a patient. Like even in the emergency room, you sit down in an emergency room. You know how much that actually the actual cost is a lot less, but they tell you it's $3,000 just to sit in the bed.
Well, Facebook has just given the Azov Battalion the green light to promote itself. Facebook's new internal policy will allow praise of the Azov Battalion when explicitly and exclusively praising their role in defending Ukraine or their role as part of the Ukraine National Guard. But COVID deniers will still be censored. Now, I like how they put COVID deniers instead of mandate questioners, because most people they're not denying COVID, they're just against being mandated to take something which they don't feel comfortable doing, being injected with an experimental drug, and then if they don't comply, they lose their ability to work and earn a living if they don't take the government's experimental drugs. I mean, the government went from say no to drugs to take this one or else. I'm glad El Chapo doesn't run his business with the same conviction as the COVID vaccine program has, where, you know, like, if you don't take my drugs, you can't work, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. You know, you have to take my cocaine or else. I mean, I'm glad drug pushers don't do the same tactic. I mean, otherwise we'd all be off our tits.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. I'm getting tired. I'm falling asleep.
Understandable.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
Good.
But if something happens like during the weekend, we probably need to do like some emergency episode thing.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on things.
Alright guys, I gotta go. I gotta go to bed.
You take care. Pleasure chatting as always.
Okay, well, please help share this around. I do see there is a lot of like new updates and stuff coming in, so yeah, probably we'll cover this later this weekend. But like I said, I just want to end real quick that in these wars, the population suffers most, like normal people, and perhaps give a little bit more attention to the normal people who didn't ask for this stuff, right? Some might have asked for it, but there's a lot of people there's over 100,000 people fled their homes now. Those people need to be taken care of, and if the Ukrainian government doesn't do it, or if the Russians don't do it, or whatever NATO country doesn't do it, they still need it. They still need support, right? So think about these people too, and not so much about what powerful country once was, right?
No, I have. The Russians actually as I was saying, they evacuated a whole bunch of women, children, orphans, and the elderly out of that area before moving in, days before moving in. So yeah, no, I saw the live feeds of the early morning collecting of the people as they were getting on buses and heading into Russia, away from the fight. The people that are remaining are the people that didn't want to leave.
Okay, I just want to emphasize that, and also, yeah, well, if they don't want to leave, it's still their home, right?
Agreed.
I mean, they shouldn't be forced to leave either. Like, yeah, okay. So we're trying not to take any side on this, so yeah. But yeah, we will try to like keep updating you guys as objective as possible. Like later this weekend, I think. Probably Sunday.
The Azov battalion, as they've been moving in, have been actually raising the Nazi flag over buildings that they've been taking. I don't know whether you've seen that in the videos that have been posted.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting.
I know.
Wage peace, motherfuckers.
This is the thing that they're doing, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and you're not going to see that on mainstream TV.
No.
You're not seeing the Nazi links, that's all. They're being completely obscured. And this is my whole point, is that people are only getting half of the picture.
I guess I gotta go.
Okay, well,
Take
sharing is a caring, guys. Please.
Hey, bye.
Bye.
Ciao for now.
Should we do some song or something?
Oh, make sure to spay and neuter all your politicians and lobbyists, and royalty, and bankers, and especially military contractors. Yeah.